Memoirs of Sheikh Muhammad Ali Mdirian, founder of the first modern-style school in Khorasan, Iran. All images and videos are fictional and unrelated to the people and places mentioned. Part 2. The Earthquake of 1875. I was just 7 years old when I was sent to school. A powerful earthquake suddenly struck one day as I walked to class. It was devastating. Almost all buildings and structures crumbled, and half of the population perished. That same year, the underground aqueducts overflowed and heavy rains followed. The downpour led to an unusual drop in prices. The rainfall increased so much that the land transformed into a lush paradise. Every drop of rain breathed new life into the earth, covering it in vibrant greenery. The rich soil, nourished by the rain, brought prosperity to agriculture. Crops thrived and pastures stretched endlessly, supporting abundant livestock. Bread was being sold at 30 kilograms, for just 10 cents in today's US dollars. Food prices fell drastically. Butter was sold at 3 kilograms, for just about 15 cents. The finest oil cost 20 cents for 3 kilograms. Brown rice was 9 kilograms for 10 cents, but premium sudri rice and green tea were luxuries only enjoyed by the nobility. Green raisins were sold at 15 kilograms for just 10 cents, yet there were no buyers. Meanwhile, people fled to the mountains, escaping government taxes. One day, I saw a nobleman from Tarshish tied to a stake in the market square. His warehouses were filled with wheat, barley, and other goods, yet he had no money to pay his taxes. Wheat was promised at 300 kilograms for just $2 today. Still, no one was willing to buy. Even government wheat was forced upon the bakers, who were beaten until they paid. The deserts, usually barren, turned green with grass, and the meat was so cheap, 9 kilograms for just 10 cents. One day, my father asked our housekeeper to buy some sheep's milk. The servant returned with an astonishing 99 kilograms. When asked about the price, he said, 300 kilograms costs just 30 cents. My father was surprised. Has it become more expensive? Even eggs were sold at 50 for 10 cents. But when the vendor offered 70 for the same price, my father still felt it was too costly. Life expectancy was remarkably high. People commonly lived beyond 100 years, some even to 140 or 190. Take, for instance, Aga Rahim from Yazd. He lived to be 140. His son, Asted Hossein Sabah, was 90. His grandson, Bamanali, was 50, and he had 8 children. At that time, tobacco, pipes, tea, and alcohol drink were rare, and skin diseases were unheard of. If someone had 100 tomans, just $100 in today's value, they were considered a person of great wealth and high status. People dressed simply. In winter, they wore cotton robes. In summer, the nobility wore fadak robes, which cost only 50 cents. A long-sleeved robe was so durable that it could last a lifetime and was only worn on special occasions, like meeting rulers. Literate people were extremely rare. Many villages had neither mullah nor educated individuals. If a letter arrived from the ruling authorities with an official document, often had to travel to another village where another mullah might be able to read it, though even then, literacy was uncertain. I remember one such incident during my school days. A messenger arrived after traveling 3 farsakhs, about 19 kilometers, carrying a manuscript for our village mullah. But the poor mullah couldn't read it. He turned to his students for help, hoping someone might decipher it. Finally, one of the students had to run and fetch his father to read the document. This lack of education created an opportunity for deception. Whenever a fraudster approached a village, he would simply wrap himself in mullah robes and declare, "I am a mullah." The villagers, desperate for knowledge, respected him without question. One such swindler arrived in a village and claimed to be a learned mullah. The villagers welcomed him and offered him an annual salary, 300 kilograms of wheat and some money. He wasted no time in establishing a school, but instead of teaching, he handed the children scraps of paper with meaningless scribbles, instructing them to shout random sounds. Day after day, the children chanted nonsense, believing they were learning. For a while, this deception went unnoticed. But one day, a real mullah visited the village. Intrigued, he went to observe the school and see how well the children were learning. What he found shocked him. The students were holding torn pieces of paper marked with crude charcoal drawings, repeating nonsense sounds over and over. The visiting mullah turned to the fraudster and said, "What a disgrace! You are stealing from these people while wasting the children's time and futures." But the fake mullah, unfazed, scoffed and replied, "I have studied for years. You, sir, do not understand these advanced lessons." The real mullah wasn't fooled. He challenged him, "If you are truly learned, prove it. Write the word snake on this paper." The fraudster hesitated, then quickly drew a recognizable snake on the sheet. The real mullah, in response, took a piece of charcoal and wrote down the word of snake. Then, the fraudster held up both pieces of paper to the villagers and asked, "Which of these looks more like a snake?" Since the villagers were illiterate, they could only judge by appearance, and they agreed that the drawing resembled a snake more than the text and word of the snake. This was all the fraudster needed to further deceive them. Feeling exposed, he grew angry and ordered his students to attack the real mullah. The poor man was beaten and driven from the village, left to wander the roads in pain and humiliation. As fate would have it, a group of tax collectors traveling to a nearby village encountered the injured mullah. Hearing his complaint, they decided to intervene. They entered the village, confronted the fraudulent mullah, and tested his knowledge, only to confirm that he was completely illiterate. Fraudster mullah, bound and disgraced, was taken to the city for judgment. At the time, Prince Nader Mirza ruled on behalf of Asif al-Dawla Shirazi in Khorasan, a fearless and strict leader. He ordered the fraudster to be publicly flogged at the crossroads of Tertius. I was just a child then, fresh out of school, watching from the crowd. The next day, the impostor was further humiliated, his clothes stripped away, his face red with bruises, and he was exiled from Tertius while he rode on the donkey upside down, chased away in shame. Such was life in those days, a world of illiteracy and misfortune, where ignorance created opportunities for deception, and the few who sought justice had to fight against deeply rooted fraud.